You know what it is? It's that time of the week, conspiracy theories, and this one we're going to discuss the bombing on Pearl Harbor. Okay guys, welcome back. So I know some of you are like, wait a minute, there's a conspiracy behind this? And it's a slight one. It's a slight one. It's something that's not as out there as some of the more popular conspiracy theories, because a lot of people, even if it's true, are not necessarily against it, although they did not like the results of what this conspiracy theory entails. And a lot of historians dispute this. But we all know that in 1941, late 1941, Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor in an attempt to prevent the United States from interfering in their invasions of countries like China, Malaysia, things of that nature. That was one of the reasons. And it was an attack that was considered a war crime, because Japan not only did not declare war on the United States, they were actually, like not even 24 hours before the attack, negotiating peace discussions with the United States, trying to find a way to come to an agreement that would get Japan out of these countries, but also provide them with the resources they were seeking, primarily rubber, oil, things like that. So the conspiracy is that President Roosevelt at the time took every measure and purposely allowed Japan to attack Pearl Harbor so that the United States could get into the war. Because what happened is, back then, Congress and the people of the United States were completely shutting down any attempt for America to get into the war. And of course, America wanted to get involved because before they even got involved, Hitler and Germany were already slowly starting to take over Europe. The British were putting up a good battle, but they were starting to slowly get overrun, you know, with the amount of responsibility trying to protect Europe. America was involved in some of that, but to a very small degree. They couldn't get involved the way they wanted to. They could provide resources, provide, you know, planes and things like that. They even did it for China when Japan was invading, but they couldn't really go full force into this. So the belief is that some of the measures that President Roosevelt took to get Japan to attack was he started shutting them down. He started shutting down all kinds of relations and trading with Japan. The biggest one, the biggest trade, that, and it was considered extreme at the time, was they stopped trading oil with Japan, which was a big deal because that was one of the, basically at that time, America was like Japan's lifeline in terms of oil. And this is one of the reasons that Japan was invading all these countries in Asia to get all these different resources. So once that happened, that's when the negotiations took place. But behind the scenes, the other part of the conspiracy is that there were transmissions going through with Japan, they were sending out code. And America claimed that they couldn't depict what was being said, but they could, they did. In fact, they even sent imminent warnings to Pearl Harbor. And this is the part where it gets a little hazy, because the rumor is that people surrounding Roosevelt did know that he was doing this intently. He wanted them to attack. But what he didn't know was the kind of attack that they were going to amount, because they believed that if Japan attacked, they would attack some of their bases in the Philippines. They didn't think they could amass an army big enough to attack Pearl Harbor, when you consider that at that time, they had so many ships stationed there. They had like 8 battleships, 30 destroyers. I mean, they had a large number of ships in Pearl Harbor. And what happened was they sent warnings to the leaders in Pearl Harbor, to the military leaders. And while they didn't say directly there would be an attack, they would keep telling them an attack is imminent, prepare. And they quite didn't prepare the way they should have. For example, instead of spreading out their planes on the runways, they would cluster them in 2x2s, which the bad thing about that is if you're getting bombed, the splash damage is going to destroy more than one, you know, you destroy one plane, but the splash damage would also destroy the ones next to them, which is why they wanted them spread out. That was one big mistake they made. The other mistake too was that they didn't spread out their ships. So they kind of bottlenecked themselves. So a lot of mistakes were made. And even the rumor has it that Roosevelt was very shocked when he saw the amount of damage and the kind of attack that they put on Pearl Harbor. So interesting stuff. You know, this is one conspiracy I got to say I believe. I really do. When you consider what Roosevelt's position might have been at the time, thinking to himself, well, damn, this guy Hitler's, you know, pretty soon he's going to have a big army. He's going to be heading my way. You know, I need to get in there and stop him. And, you know, my friends over in England are struggling here. And and Congress, obviously, like I said before, Congress and the people of the United States were not having it. They were not having it. However, after Pearl Harbor, complete in favor of war, of course. And the very next day, the United States declared war. But yeah, I definitely think that he allowed it to happen, because the only way Congress would allow Roosevelt to declare war in any country is if America faced a direct attack from an enemy. And even at that time, it's very hard to attack America. I think Roosevelt definitely put them in a position where they could be attacked and put the country in a position to go to war. I do believe that he wasn't aware that the attack would be so severe. In fact, if Japan had kept pushing, they probably would have made it fairly far into the States before we amassed enough of an army to stop them. Scary stuff when you think about it. So what do you think? Do you think Roosevelt intentionally allowed the Japanese to bomb Pearl Harbor to get into the war? I personally think he did. I just think he wasn't very smart about it. Obviously, the military leaders were not very smart about it in the way of positioning their defenses. Everybody assumed they would attack the Philippines, and they ended up attacking with 419 planes, I think 6 carriers, 8 cruisers, something like 29 battleships. I mean, it was just crazy, crazy. Oh, and then of course they had 8 submarines, and I think I forget what they call them, they're like single subs or smaller submarines. I forget the name, I can't remember, but interesting stuff. So what do you think? Do you think Roosevelt allowed the Japanese to attack? Do you think he was unaware that they would go that far? Do you think he let this happen on purpose to get involved in the war? Comment below. It's pretty interesting stuff when you consider it's one of the biggest events that ever happened on American soil. And let me know. Let me know what you think. Anyway, guys, that's it for this week's Conspiracy Theory. We'll continue next week. This is Rob signing off for ETN, where we don't do news, we just talk entertainment. Take it easy.
Thank you for watching ETN. Don't forget to comment, share, and subscribe. Join the nation's Facebook page to meet other subscribers, or visit ETN's Facebook page and Twitter page. Links for all are in the description.
Hey guys, this is Rob. This is ETN. You know what it is. It's that time of the week. Conspiracy theories, and this one we're going to discuss the bombing on Pearl Harbor. Okay guys, welcome back. So I know some of you are like, wait a minute, there's a conspiracy behind this? And it's a slight one. It's a slight one. It's something that's not as out there as some of the more popular conspiracy theories, because a lot of people, even if it's true, are not necessarily against it, although they did not like the results of what this conspiracy theory entails. And a lot of historians dispute this. But we all know that in 1941, late 1941, Japanese bombed